Jerry Weigel, North Dakota Game and Fish, Fisheries Production Development Supervisor. So we start the year out literally as soon as the ice starts to melt, shipping catchable trout from the hatchery here at Garrison Dam National Fish Hatchery in Riverdale, as well as our management folks are trapping adult northern pike and catfish, and we're targeting about 30 or so community fisheries around the state. And these are generally smaller towns, and they create an instant fishery. So almost as soon as the days get nice and you want to go catch some fish, we try to make that opportunity very easy, especially for, say, young families, single moms, single dads, to take their kid fishing, and even the elderly or anybody that struggles a little bit to get out to the bigger lakes. This will give them a chance to still enjoy some fishing without a lot of work. Then we move on to northern pike fingerlings. We take the eggs usually in middle April. The fish are reared at the National Fish Hatchery here at Riverdale, and then we ship those to about a dozen lakes that are pretty much dedicated pike lakes. They're a little too shallow for walleyes, and we stock several 100,000 this year. So the majority of our northern pike fishing opportunities are actually maintained naturally. If you think about Lake Sakakawea or a handful of lakes around the state, we don't have to restock those. Mother Nature does it well on its own, and actually there's some pretty amazing trophy northern pike opportunities at a number of lakes. Probably the predominant season for us, the most labor intensive, is our walleye stocking, which starts in end of April, early May, when our crews are out collecting eggs, Devil's Lake, Lake Sakakawea. The eggs come back to the hatchery here at Riverdale, Garrison Dam National Fish Hatchery, and they're hatched, and then they're stocked in the 60+ ponds that are up here at the hatchery. And this hatchery relationship, even though it shows up as a national fish hatchery, in fact, the state has partnered for well over a half a century to provide the spawning. We provide the transportation. We've invested in a fair amount of the infrastructure, and it's unique in the country. It's the only national fish hatchery where we have a state partner that is heavily involved and invested. And from our standpoint, we're able to create a tremendous amount of fish to keep up with all the new lakes and waters we have out across the prairie. And so about the middle of June, the walleye fingerlings are ready to go, and they start drawing the ponds down, and over about a 10-day period, we typically ship right around 1 million fish a day. We go to a dozen to 20 lakes a day. Our goal is around 170 lakes in every corner of the state. And then we typically have some larger stockings in like Devil's Lake, Lake Sakakawea. But the production and the availability of fish out of the Garrison National Fish Hatchery is just amazing. We're so fortunate that walleye is one of the fish that we can do the best at the hatchery here, and it actually has the most need out across the prairie with the stocking. And so over the last several decades, we're fortunate to be very successful at raising and stocking and creating lots of fishing opportunity across the state. This year we were shooting for around 9 million. We might come up just a little bit short with some of the crazy weather. Water levels are great across the state. The fish stocking conditions, we haven't really had any really hot weather, so the stocking conditions are awesome, to the point where these young fingerlings should have a really good chance of recruiting and becoming a nice catchable fish on the end of somebody's hook down the road. We get asked often as to how many of these little fingerlings actually make it. And I try to tell folks that all big fish started out in that same size. And it's kind of a numbers game, and then it's environmental conditions, and whatever's going on in North Dakota has been in our favor. Without a doubt, we have quite a bit of success with these hatchery fingerlings. We've created a lot of amazing fisheries, and also, you know, whether the fish out in the lakes that you're catching were naturally produced or they came from the hatchery, we don't care where they come from. We just want them there. And that's a big part of the stocking program, is it's insurance to keep those fisheries going year after year. So these walleye fingerlings we're shipping are, you know, an inch and a quarter long. They're about a month old. And it usually takes 3 years to get to that 1 pound. There's a few lakes in the southern part of the state, they might actually make it by the end of that second growing season. And then if it's a cold or deep lake, potentially a Sakakawea or a Devil's Lake, it might actually take a 4th season. So it's not an instant thing, but whenever you're out fishing, you're catching those little 10-inch walleyes and complaining because you can't keep them. That's your future. That's a good thing. You want to be catching little fish. We also, the hatchery here also, we collect eggs for fall Chinook salmon each fall. The salmon are raised over the winter, and when they're about 4 inches long, usually shortly after ice out, we'll stock them up into Lake Sakakawea here. We try to target around 300,000, and that was stocked back around May 1st. We stock those fish. We also stock, say, 15,000 or so brown trout in the river. We kind of alternate the river between brown trout, rainbow trout, and we're actually going to try some tiger trout this next year. And then also we brought tiger trout back from Wyoming and introduced those into Hooker Lake and Moon Lake that we stocked the last few years to create, again, another unique fishing opportunity. And then musky fishing. We brought some fish back from the state of Iowa, some little fingerlings just in the last few weeks. They're going to be reared at Valley City National Fish Hatchery for the summer, and then this fall we'll go out and stock those. And then also the state of Wyoming is rearing tiger musky, which will be brought back and stocked into Lake Audubon. So if you're new to fishing in North Dakota, or you just want to dive a little deeper into the information, we have a really good Where to Fish page located in the fishing section. And in that you'll find access to contour maps, you'll find some stocking history, you'll find 10 years of the past netting history, and driving directions, and then if there's a fish cleaning station, a vault toilet, the amenities. So it's really helpful, and then you can actually search by species. So that's a good source of information to track what's going on. You know, the whole fish stocking thing is really driven by habitat. And you go back to when I started my career, we had 150 lakes. We didn't need 9 million walleye fingerlings. A million or so was plenty. But fast forward to today, with all the waters, the near 500 fishing lakes across the state, we have a big demand for fingerlings. And we're so fortunate to have this facility and partnership with the National Fish Hatchery to be able to produce these fish and continue to create these great fishing opportunities across the state.